What's up, guys? It is Rick in. No, you are not. You are not seeing differently. We just had a bit of a swap for scheduling issues. So instead of me going, I don't know, whatever do on Friday, I'm going to you live today on Tuesday. So we are on the Flip with Rick channel. Yeah, part of my name's in there, so it works out really well. And I'm excited about today because I'm going to share with you the instant offer formula. And for those of you that don't know, I apologize for starting late. I had some technical difficulties. You guys know I'm not the graphics guy or the tech guy, but the instant offer, I know this better than anybody. So I taught Zach this, and what I want to do is walk you through step by step on how to use it. And the reason why it's so important today, and especially in today's wholesaling environment, is because it works. And it teaches you on how the fundamentals work in wholesaling. And if you don't get that right now, dude, wholesaling is very different from where it was for the last 7 years. And some of you are experiencing that now. And if you learned from somebody in the last 5-7 years how to do wholesaling, at least consider my 21 years experience doing this. So let me know if you guys can hear me. Somebody's saying we're having some mic problems, but it looks like it's working fine. So, okay. So, anyways, let me jump into this. Let me make sure it's set on the right setting. Okay, hold on. So, guys, before we get started, you know what to do. You got to get pumped up for wholesaling. Let's get it going. You know what to do.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go. Get up, and get the guy go. Time to wake up, bitch. Get up. Get up. Get up.
Okay, so tell me if we fix that mic problem. Let me know in the comments just so I know. That's why I'm a good wholesaler and I'm not a tech guy. So awesome. So guys, you know how I treat wholesaling. I love this. Someone give me some comments, see if the mic issue is fixed. So I have confirmation on it. Awesome. So I'm a wholesaling guy. This is what I do and what I love. So the purpose of this channel, so everybody's clear and understands, is number one, to give you the tools to get started in wholesaling and easily get you your first deal if you're willing to put in the work and the time. If you want to move on with that journey, I can easily navigate you to your first 100 grand. Why? I did it. I've taught hundreds of people in my local market how to do it. I've taught tens of thousands of people all over the country. And obviously I taught my son at age 16. And what I did is I have a revelation when I taught him is I've simplified the business because most of you way overcomplicate it. And I want you to understand this live today will give you the fundamental tools to get you in the right direction to get not only your first deal in wholesaling, but easily get you through your first year, your first 100K. After that, the sky's the limit. My goal is people like, Rick, why don't you have a coaching course? Why? Because it's so freaking simple how to do this business that you guys are being punked in how this business works. You see, it's you that actually makes the difference. So many gurus tell you, I have this secret way to show you how to do wholesaling. Most of them are just, they're lying to you. The reality is you have to make a huge commitment to yourself. You've got to be accountable to yourself and you got to get going. So there's no secrets in wholesaling. So if you've never done this before, I am here to tell you, I'm going to give you the first place to start. Just go over, do me a favor, go over to freewholesaling.com. And right now we have the June challenge, the 30-day challenge to get you going and get your first deal in 30 days. And my goal is to get you to take action. Yes, I am selfish. I want you to actually be highly successful in this business, and I want you to win. And if you're going to win, I want you to win on your own terms. So I'm selfish. I want it to work out for everyone. So go over to freewholesaling.com. You can get started in there. And as usual, guys, if you enjoy the content today, make sure you smash that like button. And please make sure you subscribe to this channel. If you're going to enter the 30-day, sorry about that, 30-day wholesaling challenge, you have to be subscribed to all our channels, the Flip with Rick, the Rick In channel, and the Zach In channel. And then from there, basically you submit your deals. It's all in freewholesaling.com. Go check it out. Everything's in there. My goal is to get you started. So without further ado, I'm going to attempt to use this iPad to do and teach you the instant offer formula. And it's not complicated. So if you guys can give me 30 minutes of your time, and then what we'll do, you have two ways to connect with me. Number one, you have the comment section. Introduce yourself. Let us know what market you're in. Let us know if you're just getting started with wholesaling. I don't care if you've done your thousands deal. This is a great place to network with people, find like-minded people, and find people. I'm looking for people that have the same passion that I have in wholesaling. I've been doing this 21 years. And honestly, I feel like I just started it yesterday. I love this business. It's amazing. It's not complicated, but most people won't do the simple, consistent tasks you have to do. So today we're going to break it all down and make it simple. Honestly, I think this is probably one of the most valuable live streams you can have, because I'm going to simplify how wholesaling works. I'm not going to show you the car I drive because it's boring. You're going to fall asleep. I'm not going to show you some pimp pad. Dude, what I own is of no value to you. And honestly, I teach you to lose your ego. And that's step number one. If you can't lose your ego, then you can probably never tell the truth. So let's jump into it. I'm going to attempt to switch this thing over here. And so also, guys, on the lives, if you go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real, you can connect. You can do a mastermind one-on-one. I do have some room in there. So just go ahead. It's first come, first serve basis. So you got the comments, you got the mastermind, and just jump on it. So you guys know I am like, when you communicate with me, I'm very direct, meaning I want to get to the truth so I can help you out as much as I humanly possibly can. So keep that in mind when you put in the comments and we go on the live. So let me share my screen here. Let's see. Okay. I think this is going to work. So we're talking about the instant offer. And you know what? I am contemplating if I'm going to use my glasses or not, but I'm going to try it without it. I'll slide it up here. So yes, guys, I'm older. I need glasses. If you ever have to ask, well, you'll figure it out one day when you get them in. So we're talking about the instant offer. And here's the really cool part is by the way, I will get to your questions in there. On the instant offer, here's the number one thing people screw up in wholesaling. You ready for this? The ARV. And if you're asking me, what does ARV stand for? It's actually a valid question. It's the after repaired value. What does that mean? In layman's term, it basically means the highest and best use for a property in perfect condition. Maybe not perfect, but ideal. So it would be equivalent to a property that was going to be sold with a realtor on MLS. Does that make sense? Hold on, let me, okay. So after repaired value, if you do not get the correct after repaired value, it doesn't matter what you do in wholesaling, because all the numbers get screwed up. So the biggest thing when people submit a deal to me, they go, oh, here's the ARV. And I always ask them, how did you come up with that number? And I want to know where you got it from. It's that simple. If I don't know where you got it from, now, if you got it from your seller, you can take that information, but that doesn't mean it's the ARV. Guys, let me know in the comments if you do you think sellers actually lie to you on what the ARV is? I would say 80 to 90% of them do. It's just the truth. And you have to understand that. So we have to talk about how we're going to do comps on properties. So how do you get an ARV? The easiest way is basically do a search for a comp. A comp is nothing more than short for a comparable. Yes, I write like a doctor, but I earn a lot more than a doctor. So a comp is a comparable. And I want you to understand this. Comp means it has to be similar. What is similar? Same beds, same baths, and roughly the same square footage. And you want to be in the same subdivision for the most part. And then if it's a ranch style house, the same style. Now, an example, if you are comping a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage, don't compare it to 2 ones. It's common sense. So you have to figure it out. I will tell you, the older houses are more challenging because I've seen people with 5-bedroom houses that are like 800 square feet. So to me, it's common sense. You have to figure it out. So for something to be at least 3 bedrooms, it typically has to be at least 1,000 square feet. If it's not, it's usually a house that's been chopped up. So you also want to keep the same within a 10-year period. Meaning if a house was built in 1990, I wouldn't go past 2000 and I wouldn't try to go before to like 1980. Now, the really cool thing is most subdivision builders build houses in entire lots. So once you go from one neighborhood to the next, you'll see the houses change. Why am I going over comps? I'm not a realtor. I'm giving you the quick nitty and gritty because most of you spend way too much time doing all this stuff. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. The last thing you have to understand. So the ARV is problem number 1. And then number 2, it always comes down to repairs. Once again, if I don't know what the repairs are to the property you're looking to buy for a wholesale deal, I cannot help you. Why? Why do we need to know the repairs? Because some people discount properties based on what they think the repairs are. And once again, do you think sellers lie to us? They do all the time. Worst case scenario, wholesalers are even worse about this. Never, ever trust your seller or your wholesaler's repair numbers because 95% of the time they are absolutely wrong. And you've got to understand that. So if you get your repair number from the seller, take that information, but try to verify it. And I'm going to give you a tool that you can easily verify. It's at least a guideline to get you started. Now, a lot of you guys doing this virtually, you have to kind of take their word for it. But that's why if you have the chance to get boots on the ground to look at your properties, because the biggest problem with the virtual deals is even if you get the ARV right, if the repairs are 50 grand more than you planned on, there goes all your profit. And I don't want you getting stuck on contracts that don't work. So please never take your seller's repair numbers. You guys are going to laugh, but a lot of times I multiply them by 1.5. So if it's 50 grand, it winds up being 75 grand. In some markets, I actually double it. You got to figure it out what it's in your market to do it. Now, what I'm going to do is share with you a simple, I'm going to get to repairs. Let's talk about comp still. So I got to slide this screen up. Hold on 1 second, guys. So let's do this. Let's talk about okay, good. You can see it. Let's talk about comp rules. Okay. So we already know to do similar, right? Within 10 years. And then when it comes to square footage, I like to look at under air. Now, if you're like Florida, figure out what a pool adds to it. The funny thing, pools used to add 10 or 20 grand value. Now a new pool, at least in the southeast part of the United States, is the minimum is 50 and most of them are closer to like 100. So pools add a whole new dimension. It's just not 10 or 20 grand anymore. And you've got to understand that. So if we understand that on the square footage, I like to look what's under air. Now, if you have decks and pools, it can make the property sell faster and you can add some numbers on it. Figure what that unique number to your market is and go from there. And then what I like to do is within 200 square feet, meaning it's either plus or minus, or If you want to get more general, you can do it within 15% max, 10% minimum. So if you guys got any specific questions about comp, understanding I'm teaching how to comp as a wholesaler, not a realtor. I'm not interested in how a realtor comps because I'm pricing this for a wholesale deal. Now, the really cool part about this is you've got to understand I have rules when you comp, and I'm going to teach you the biggest problem wholesalers have. This is like your meat and potatoes right now. You ready? This is crazy. You ready for this? You have to be on the shot clock. But before I get into the shot clock, I'm going to teach you, you should never comp a property until you determine the seller's motivation. Why? It's real simple. So the shot clock is going to be 10 minutes. You guys already know my rule on the 10 minutes. Unless you want to be a realtor and you want to be one of these wholesalers that says, go get your license and you can JV every deal. Honestly, in my opinion, you're kind of a glorified realtor in that point. I'm teaching you how to get off market deals. So if I got 1,000 leads, okay, say you got 1,000 leads, say you're blessed and you get 1,000 leads. I want you to understand this. If I'm going to do 1,000 leads, I want you to think about it this way. If you get 1,000 leads and 75 of them wind up being like potential deals, meaning you're talking to them, there's signs of motivation, those 75 times 10 minutes, that's 750 minutes. I don't even know how many hours that is. Let's see how many hours that is. You ready? I'm going to show you why this doesn't work, because you're going to be comping all day. So if you cut it down to 75, 750 divided by 60 minutes, that's 12.5 hours of comping. Now for 75 deals, that's not bad. Here's what most of you do. Instead of doing this, you go and do it this way. Say you get 1,000 leads, and then you got to spend 10 minutes with each one of them. And that basically equals what? 10,000 minutes divided by 60. So if you do this, you might as well go ahead and just get your realtor's license, because you just created 167 hours of work. Do you understand what I'm saying? Please stop comping properties before you talk to the seller. It's just a huge time suck. And the only reason you're doing this, number one, either a guru taught you how to do this, or number two, you're following the realtor model. So define what you want to do. But I'm here to tell you, do not waste time doing comps all day. It's just endless. Listen, 12 and a half hours is a lot of time commitment. Now with 75 deals, I will do it. But the reality is, those of you that spend all your time comping, it's just a waste of time. You're wasting time. Listen, if I contact 100 sellers and I get it down to 10 of them that want to talk to me, of that 10, I'll probably get it down to 5 or 6, and then I'll go into a 10-minute comp. Do you understand the way I'm teaching you it? But most of you, because you want certainty and you want to get your offer accepted on the first time, it is the worst way to do wholesaling. You are wasting your time. Do you know a realtor, before they go to every listing, they spend on average 2.5 hours comping? I want you to wrap your head around that. So unless you want to be a realtor, if you're spending more than 10 minutes comping a potential motivated seller, you are acting like a realtor. It's just a waste of time. Guys, the only way you're going to know the sales price is when you actually sell the thing. So you have to buy it at a discount. So if you're not going to get a discount, why are you spending all this time comping your properties? It drives me nuts. And I want you to completely understand that. So let's talk about that. We know we're not going to do that. So how do we get the correct comps? This is easy. I am not a tech wizard. So hold on one sec. I got to slide this thing up. So how do we get the correct comps? Once again, it is not rocket science. So what I'm going to do, if I want to get the best comps, you can simply go online and look at stuff. Remember, you have 10 minutes. So think like a seller. What is it? What is the one thing all sellers look at? They look at Zillow. So just go to Zillow and get it over with. It doesn't mean it's right, but know what the number is, because the seller is going to have that information 9 times out of 10, and you got to be able to deal with it and figure it out. And then you can look at the for sales for similar types of properties, whatever you need to do. You can use Trulia. You can use realtor.com. Yes, that's a realtor tool, but you might as well use it to your advantage. What I like to do is you could also use one of the comp valuing services, listrei.com. I find they have a much more conservative value. You can do something like that, or you can do zacdata.com. You don't have to, guys. In the old days, I had to go to a realtor to get a comp, and I had to tell them to give me the most conservative comp you have. Now, understanding comp is a range. It is a range. And how does a range work? A range has a low and a high. If you can get rid of the high and the low and find something right around there, that's probably going to be your best range. There is never a set number for a comp. I don't know why people like, it's got to be this number. It's got to be that. That's not how it works. And you've got to understand that. So the add-ons, when we talk about decks and pools, find out what's unique to the market you're doing. So if you're doing it local, it's kind of easy. You can figure it out. As I said, in the old days, a pool maybe added 10 grand to my deals. It's completely different now. It's around 40 to 50K in Florida. And depending on how customized the pool is, I mean, I just looked at a house with a $300,000 pool. I didn't even know you can make them like, it was almost like hotel quality. It was absolutely insane. So what I want to do is let's go back and let's talk about repairs. And then we're going to dive into the instant offer system. And then we're going to wrap this all up together. I know it's a lot of information, but I'm going somewhere with it. I promise you. So if you don't have this worksheet, it is inside of freewholesaling.com. Go over there. I share it all in there for you. And I want you to take a careful look at this. This is just an estimator. So when your seller gives you numbers, go in and verify it. Like go in and use this chart. And then after a while, you'll get really good at figuring out what the numbers are. By no means is this a fail-proof method. It does have some holes, but for the most part, this is going to cover. And remember, you have light, you have medium, and you have heavy. What do I mean by that? If it's a light rehab and it's 1,500 square feet or less, it should be around 15 grand. And honestly, I would stretch it to 15 to 20,000. It used to be 10. We've updated these numbers. If it was medium, you add another 10. And if it goes to heavy, you basically almost 2.2 of that number. And then it works over as the houses get bigger. And remember, guys, these are cookie cut stapler houses. We're not talking about custom, large, beautiful homes. Once you get past homes over 3,000 square feet, the numbers just get way out of whack. So I don't teach you how to do rehab, but it's important you price in your rehab numbers. Stop taking your seller's number for word. It's usually wrong. It's just crazy. I just take it and I absorb it in and I move on there. So let's talk about how to use the instant offer formula and how you can use it in your business. So let me move this over here. Cover your eyes for a sec because I got to scroll this up. Okay. So on the instant offer, and you've got to understand this. And then we're also going to talk about non-disclosure states at the end. I did not forget about it. So first off, the old instant offer was what? 70% minus repairs, 70% of ARV minus repairs, minus your assignment fee, right? And that's your offer. Guys, you know that doesn't work in today's market. honestly, if you get anything of this, just take it. It's a home run. You'll do very well. And you need to make it work. Now, a good question here. I'm going to just pop it up because I see it on here. How do you know the difference between medium and heavy? Honestly, it's a very visual and it can be a smell test. Heavy, it's going to have smell and it looks terrible. Medium, it looks terrible but doesn't quite smell yet. Light, I could possibly live here. That's how you do the that's how you kind of pass the test on that. Hopefully that helps. So the problem is the 70% was what I was taught when I started. And every offer, like I stuck to it. Like it was just like my life depended on it. And I want you to understand 70% on a very small property, it makes sense. Let me give you an example. Say you had a $50,000 property. Maybe you're in a low market. Most of you aren't. I know that, but I'm just going to give you why this number doesn't work. And say you multiply it by 70 and you make an offer of 35K. Actually looks pretty good on paper. That would be the normal discount. Now, assume the property was, say, $400,000. 0.70, you have to offer $280,000. You guys know if I'm going to go from 400 to 280K, most sellers are going to blow you out of the water. It's just the truth. Okay. You want to know a little bit of secret on the instant offer formula? Is you want to make an offer where you're actually going to make money and it qualifies as a great wholesale deal. Now, my favorite part on doing these, I wish I could. So if you get 70%, run with it. You could tell a monkey how to do that. But now you have to put logical education. What is the difference with today's sellers that wasn't so acceptable 10 years ago? They are armed with information. They have data. They know what their property's worth. So in the old days, there wasn't a lot of information. And by the way, those of you in the non-disclosure states, in my opinion, you have a competitive advantage over your sellers. Why? Because all the information is held private and you can still get that information. And I'll show you how to do it. But when it comes to making an offer, you've got to understand is 70% is an old school rule and it doesn't work anymore. So what is the sweet spot to make an offer? I'm going to tell you right now. Put it in writing. And once again, we want to find an offer. You know what offer really works is if you know what the target price your seller will take and you have a buyer that'll pay more, take it. Like, why do you have to have a 70% rule to do that? So the first thing I'm going to look at is my risk factor when making a wholesale deal. So in the beginning, if you have no money for anything, for closing, for marketing, you're going to have to hustle. And you know what? If you find a house that's the seller takes 50 grand and you can find a cash buyer that'll pay you 53 grand for it, take the profit. Okay. So those of you that are just trying to get your feet in the door and you're very, very limited, you're going to have to hustle, and it's fine. And it's okay to take 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, but you can't do that the rest of your life because you won't make it. So the reality of those of you that have a few more tools in the shed is you can take a little bit more of a risk. So what I'm going to do is, number one, if I have a cash buyer and I've built a great cash buyer list, I have intel. And when I have intel, I know how to take these deals down. I know exactly what my cash buyers will pay for it. And if I have a cash buyer lined up and ready to go, especially in today's market, and say I have a property under contract for 150K and I have a cash buyer and he'll pay me 165K, who cares what percentage you offered ARV? And the reality is the percentage number is actually So if say it's 70% is the old school rule, but what if the ARV is wrong? It doesn't matter what you do with this number because the number's never going to work. And that's why I keep telling you guys, hanging up on the 70% is ridiculous. I will tell you this, most wholesale deals wind up being anywhere on average, if you have a great cash buyers list and you're minimizing your risk, most of the deals wind up between 76 and 83%. Stop focusing on this part of the offer because it doesn't really matter. Now, 83 is about the cap because I want you to think about a seller. What does a seller look for when they go to sell a property? I'm going to show you. We're going to keep moving on here. I got too much in my brain sometimes. So here's the two things. So as long as you focus on the right list, code violations, government lists, there should be forms of motivation in that list. So somebody on one of these government lists, guess what? When they go to sell it, they typically don't want to pay a realtor fee. How much is a realtor fee, guys? 6%, maybe 5% in some markets. They don't want to pay closing costs, roughly around 2%, and that they definitely don't want to negotiate. The negotiation on typically is like 3%, and then they don't want to do any repairs. And most property, on average, need about 5% in repairs. So let's add up these numbers, guys. 6, 8, 11, that's 16%. I want you to do the math. What's that put us around 84%? That's where a lot of these sellers will start. And I want you to understand, all you have to do is get that 84% down to like 76, 78%. And this is where your assignment fee is. But you have to consider, do you have a robust cash buyers list that will help you get the deals? Now, here's the reality is, I can give you 76, 78, 83. It depends on what you call the ARV. Because if your ARV is inflated by 15%, none of these numbers matter. And that's what I'm telling you guys. You're focusing on the wrong number. What I'm trying to teach you is buy your wholesale properties at the lowest priced possible because your cash buyers are going to beat you up for it. And what you think the ARV is, what your seller thinks the ARV is, and what your cash buyer thinks your ARV is, they're all different numbers. So why are we sitting here focusing on the instant offer on like the numbers? So this teaches you how to work it back from the seller's perspective. When somebody contacts my company off the list, they're trying to skip the realtor. They typically don't want to pay closing costs. They don't want to do any repairs. And they definitely don't want to negotiate. So people always say, why would someone take a discount? The average person that calls off their list, they already expect a 10 to 12% discount. Now, if the motivation is there, meaning they need to sell the house due to repairs, a financial issue or something like that, all you have to do is walk them off the ledge that last 5 or 6%, and it's not hard to do. Think about it. We need to help sellers in spite of the actions they take. So I have a lot of sellers. I walk in the houses, there's no windows, there's holes in the roof, and they're crying, and hey, Rick, I really need to sell this property. I have to be able to buy that property and create a profit and help the seller at the same time. If you can't do it all, move on. I tell everyone I'm making a profit off the property, and I am giving you the awesomeness of convenience, discretion, and I'm going to give you the value of a speed. Why? Because I've been doing this 21 years. But I started in a lot of you guys' shoes the same way. And I'm here to tell you the instant offer. Here's the key is get the right ARV, get the right repairs. And the key is you have to come up with that number. Take the input of your sellers and whoever else is involved, especially realtors. They don't know what these numbers are. And then if you decide that the seller has motivation, here's the biggest part of the instant offer. If they have motivation, then you comp it. How long do you comp it? 10 minutes max. Now, everyone says, hey, Rick, how do I comp a property if it's like odd shape in the middle of nowhere? Comp it based on what it would rent for. And if you don't know how to do that, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you how to do it. You basically come up with what we call a cap rate, which is short for capitalization. And all you do is take all the rents and you minus off the tax, the insurance, leave some room for vacancy, like 20, 25%, and that'll give you a number. And then that total net number, you divide it by whatever sale price you think is correct and come out with a cap number. Now, we don't really do caps on single family houses, but you have to so a cap rate is basically an ROI. That's all it is, guys. So if you have a cap rate of 10%, that's a decent number, but keep in mind, you're only going to get cash flow on the property. You're probably going to have the same problems if you go to sell it that the seller is trying to have with it. So the whole idea of the instant offer is when you identify your list is stop comping everything before you talk to the sellers. It is a huge time suck and it doesn't work. And I'm here to tell you, if you would just fix this part of your wholesale game, you will go to new stratospheres. Remember, I'm here to simplify wholesaling for you, not complicate it. A guru telling you to go on MLS, to me as a newbie, is absolutely insanity. Where is the motivation going to be on MLS? And then, did I get in this business to be a licensed realtor to talk to other realtors? I have no problem with realtors, but let's face it, they don't like wholesalers. 9 out of 10 realtors have a negative connotation when it comes to wholesalers. So that's why I just stay out of their arena. It doesn't mean I don't do deals with real estate agents, but I never make that a primary focus of my business. And honestly, calling real estate agents, trying to negotiate, if you want to kill time, do it. But for the most part, unless you have an inside track on that property, huge time waste. Prove me wrong otherwise on it. So guys, that is really it on the instant offer. You've got to understand that you have to simplify. If you want to learn more on how to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com. I'm going to scroll it on the bottom here for you guys can see it. Let me get this off the screen. And then we are going to jump up and do my favorite part, which is massive interaction. We're going to have a lot of fun doing this. Let me put up the free wholesaling. It's scrolling across the bottom there for you. Go over there, guys. Remember, I'm here to create a legacy. How do I create a legacy? Train more people how to do wholesaling than anybody else in the entire world. So what do? I make it free. Here's the part you have to bring to it. You actually have to take incredible, massive amount of action, and you have to be extremely consistent. And you have to have such conviction for wholesaling that the slightest failure does not freak you out. You see, most people quit the minute they hit failure, and wholesaling has taught me the muscle on how to stick at it. It's no different than wrestling, football, or any other contact sport you do. The thing is, the ladies can do wholesaling. They can actually probably do it better than men. I always say that out loud because they listen better and they're easier to let their ego go. So if you're going to be good in any type of competitive sports, you're going to get beaten. And when you get beat, you just learn. So no different in wholesaling. You actually have to practice your trade. How do I practice? You role play. You talk to yourself. You spend time studying wholesaling. But most of you are spending way too much time studying people's courses, and you're not taking the action that is required to actually learn this business. So wholesaling is a journey for everyone. Everybody takes a different path when they do it. And here's how I look at it. You ready for this? You need to learn to become a marathon runner and not a sprinter. How do I know people are sprinters? The minute they quit wholesaling, they were 100% a sprinter. And I really don't want to be associated with you. Why? Because you quit. And when you quit, you're done. You failed. It's over. So you can assimilate this to any part of your life. God knows I've been on this earth long enough, and I'm here to tell you life is short. You've got to put your best foot forward. More people die with regrets of what they didn't do as opposed to what they did do. And so if you understand that going into it, you understand that you have to put your best effort forward. Why do we have a 95% failure ratio in the wholesale business? Gurus are part of it. They're not the entire blame. The reality is you guys buy into a story that's sounds so perfect and good, and you think it's going to fix your life, and it just creates you more drama. So what we want to do is teach you how to do the hard work up front. And if you're willing to take on that ride and do the hard work, amazing things can happen in your life, and especially in this business. So, guys, I have been knocked down so many times as a wholesaler, you can't even imagine. To this day, I still get knocked down. I am learning just like all of you. I'm just really good at wholesaling. I just got more experience. Now, I learned to be a marathon runner. I was not the fastest wholesaler out the gate, but I'm here 21 years later. Look at all the people who taught wholesaling. The minute it got hard, they bailed. They're gone. Oh my God, it's too hard. I don't care, man. Like, that is a weak mentality person. And that's the person that tried wrestling a few times. And then they went over to, I don't know, they went over to the bowling team. I got no problems with bowling. I'm terrible at it. So every one of you guys can beat me. And I want you to understand this going forward, that stop spending all this time trying to create the perfect offer. So the instant offer will lead you into the go for no. And if you don't know how to do the go for no, basically means the first time you make an offer, you're looking to get it rejected so you can get a counter from your seller. Rick, why do I want to get a no? Because every guru teaches you on how to get a yes. Realtors go for a yes the first time. I always go for the no. I'm proud of it. You can feature me on any type of news bit media. I don't consider left wing, right wing. I don't give a crap. I have 21 years in this business. I know exactly what works. It works. So you can follow a guru that's done it a year or two. In the last 7 years, wholesaling, I've never seen anything like it. And the reality is, think about this. You had historically low interest rates, right? You had, what else do we have? We had a pandemic kick in, and we had the government artificially keeping these rates like super low. And then you had buyers that were willing to pay above market prices. Guys, those weren't wholesalers teaching how to wholesale. They were just glorified realtors. It's just the truth. So that's enough of my rampage. So anybody wants to talk about making offers, if you guys want to argue with on me, or if you want to like help it, but remember, I got 21 years doing this. The reality is, if you just take the information I shared with you, which is a lot, but it's all over in freewholesaling.com. Guys, I want you to check it out, and let's jump into it. So let me take care of a couple messages, then we're going to jump on the lives, and we're going to go from there. So EG say, Rick, you think it's a waste of time calling agents for off-market properties? No, on-market properties. On-market properties is just a huge waste of time. Why? Because they all want top dollar. So now you've got to filter an agent. You're never going to get true motivation, even if it's there. I'm okay, but like so here's the perfect, and I love this question. Here's the best way to work with realtors, which no other wholesaler ever talks about. Go find realtors that will spend time and talk to you. How do you do it? Just cold call them like you do anybody else. It's easy to get their list and say, listen, do you enjoy working with investment type properties? Simple question like that. And when you get that question, find them and meet with them. You're going to have to make hundreds of phone calls, and then you train them for what you're looking for. So if 95% of all properties go through realtors, I get it. They are the gatekeeper of a ton of real estate. So why not open it up? Here's the reality is, do you ever think they get contacted by sellers of properties that are not up to par or in really bad shape, or the seller's embarrassed to deal with it, and they call them because maybe they bought the house from them? They go, listen, Becky, the house has gone south. It's kind of embarrassing. Here's what most realtors do. Hey, I'll list it. I'll find a cash buyer. We'll figure it out. And it winds up being a mess. Now, if I teach Becky, hey, Becky, if you ever get one of your sellers that's really tired, the property's never going to pass inspection, and it's not going to get financing, call me, because I have the ability to pay you for those properties a fair price and still get you your full commission. Here's what I want from Becky. I don't want her to call me on every seller, but if she calls me 2 or 3 times a year, I'm excited. And so, EJ, great question. If you precondition your realtors, and I never represent myself as a wholesaler because there's a stigma with it. I just say, listen, I'm a cash buyer locally that buys properties. If they need a little bit of love, I would even consider relisting it with you. I never promise or guarantee it. I just leave it out there as trade bait. So that is my condition for working realtors. Now, off market, if you have that preconditioned talk, that's perfect. On market, you don't have enough money. I'm going to have to give up 50 hours a week to get very little progress doing it. Guys, ask me how I know this. There was only one time I've gone on MLS and we had great traction, and it was 2010 to 2012. That's it. There was so much inventory in every market. There was no point in even contacting off market properties. Fast forward to today, we still have an inventory problem. Costs are rising, so rents aren't really dropping off, and we're in this kind of stalemate. And we're all waiting for this magic boot to drop. I have no idea what's going to happen. So I'm going to always focus on motivated sellers so I get the right deal. I am never acting as a realtor. I have nothing against realtors. My wife's a realtor. I love realtors. But for wholesaling, we deal with motivated sellers and off-market properties. Every now and then it winds up through a realtor or on market, but it is the exception. It is definitely not the rule. So I want you to understand that going forward. Let's see. Let's see. Don't worry too much about property descriptions. That's like realtor stuff. So I'm just double check. I tagged a few questions there. So this is a common one when you guys put this on there. If you feel like you're talking to another wholesaler, you are. So listen, I love working with wholesalers, but make sure you have a JV agreement up front with them. But honestly, in my opinion, try to find motivated sellers on off-market properties. It's just a better way to do this business. We get all tied up into it. Okay, let me jump over to lives. Let's see. I missed. He says, gurus generalized information isn't the process for flippers, investors, holding. Yeah, guys, I only represent wholesalers. So guys, wholesalers are completely different than flippers, investors, speculators, agents, gurus, and everything. And if you understand that, that's what we do. Somehow wholesalers always get wrapped up in like fix and flip guys and buy and holds. No, wholesalers have the first shot at every deal. We always have the first and best shot. What you do with it is completely up to you. And I want you to understand that without wholesaling, honestly, I don't believe the creative financing market would work because you got to find people that are motivated, that have problems. Yes, there are houses where they owe too much money and a creative solution can work. But the best way to get involved in creative financing is start out in wholesaling. There's this big misconception out in the market right now. Just why deal with wholesalers when you can just be a creative financing person? Okay, let me know how that works out. I love creative financing, but it does take some education and time. If you think you can crash course it in 3 months and learn everything you need to know about it, yes, you can get help. And I got no problem getting help. But please understand, you need to understand the paperwork, because when you take over someone's loan, there is an obligation that the seller has signed and committed. And guess what? They're held on the hot seat when things go wrong, not you. And if you really care about your seller, you better make sure you have the ability to fix it if that loan, they all don't get called due, but banks are getting smarter and smarter about everything. There's certain types of loans you can't even take over. Honestly, you should actually seek legal help before you take over some of these things, and especially be very careful how you title it. So, okay, let's jump over to the lives. And Zaya, what's going on?
Hi, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
What's going on? What can I help you out with today?
I start before 2 days ago to make the reverse door for door and cold calling.
Okay.
And today I got in the morning a lot of phone calls from people that I left sticky notes on their door. And I schedule for tomorrow an appointment to see one of the properties. I also close a price with them on the phone, but I told them that it's not the real price until I see the condition of the property.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know if there is any tips or things that I need to do before I'm going to the appointment with the seller.
So you got him off of a cold call, right?
Yeah.
And did it come off like a particular list you were working on?
Yes.
Which list?
I do also door to door and all and vacant properties and from the PropStream list.
Got it. Okay. So Have you ran your 10-minute comp on it yet?
Yeah, I did some comps, but actually, I'm going over there tomorrow to the appointment with my cousin. He's a real estate investor in the area that I'm working.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going with him because he has more experience than me, and he can see the condition of the property, and maybe we
Okay.
can close the deal with him, you know?
Yeah. So how much experience is it a family member you're going with? Your cousin?
Yeah, yeah, my cousin.
How much experience does he have?
He started to make rentals before 2 years ago.
Okay. So just make sure that you'd be surprised. Sometimes family is very it's interesting. They can throw you off real quick. Most of you guys will break rules for family and nobody else. So just understand, because family gets a credibility level that I can't attain. So I am never going to be your family member. But please, here's the one thing, just please listen to the cardinal rules of wholesaling that me and Zach teach you, because I've been doing this 21 years. I did not create this overnight, and I made a lot of blunders along the way. So if just make sure you understand your rules, and then if he doesn't agree with him, you talk it out with him. Now you got to respect family, but I find a lot of you guys get steered by family because they've known you much longer than me or Zach, and it can guide you in the wrong way. So I have no idea what your cousin's credibility is with wholesaling in 3 years. I mean, that's a decent amount of experience, but just
No, he's
take
an
all the
investor.
information in, and you have to make the right decision that's best for you and your seller.
Okay.
Does it make
So,
sense?
like, it makes sense. Yeah, I have a lot of experience from the sales industry, so I'm really believing, like you said, like keep it simple and go by the rules. I believe in your experience, but my cousin is an
Yeah.
investor, not a wholesaler. He's investor, so he's being the buyer side, you know.
I got it. So remember, he has different objectives than you do. So just understand
Yeah.
that going into it. And by the way, guys, dude, cash buyers, when they come look at a properties, like I should do an entire video on this. They down talk properties and try to make you feel bad. Just here's what I do whenever they like naysay the properties. I go, listen, just don't worry. I got another guy coming in 20 minutes. Like I just do not go down that rabbit hole when they try, because they're trying to manipulate you for price. And a really good cash buyer will play poker with you. They will not tell you they like the property. They'll give you no indication. And I always tell them, listen, call me back by 5 and let me know if you're in or out. I never give them an opportunity to negotiate unless I have no other competition. So what time's your appointment tomorrow? Is it today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tomorrow
Okay.
morning.
So you know what the game plan is going in, right? So just you're meeting with the seller at the house, right?
Yes. It's a
So
vacant property.
just make sure you go through the correct processes we teach you, and don't cut corners because your cousin's there. Remember, you got to leave your ego at the door and don't let them screw your deal up. So if they can help you out and he can help you out with numbers and what you can resell it for, I would use that. But when it comes to working with the seller, cash buyers have no idea what we have to do as wholesalers when we negotiate with the seller. You understand that?
Okay. Yeah.
They're terrible at it. Don't don't fall for it, because I tell you, I've made the mistake so many times, and they're not so much family. I've never had the problem with family, because the only person I've ever done real estate was with Zach and probably my wife. But whenever I've had occasion where I had the cash buyer there when I had to meet with the seller, and it's very difficult because the sellers freak out when they hear what you're buying it for, and then they just want it like cheaper. So is your cousin going to be the buyer of the property?
Maybe let's see the condition for it. But I also have
Okay.
this concerns in my mind, like you said, because it's a family. But
Yeah.
because it's my first, I just started the wholesaling. It's my first appointment. I decided
Okay.
to do it like, with the men that have more experience than me and take even like a less profit, but to get the confidence in the wholesaling.
Yeah, you'll get it. So just get excited about it there. Show up early, drive around, all the stuff we teach over at freewholesaling.com. And remember, so I'm going to quiz you. What is the fundamental, past the seller being motivated, which I think you've already identified? What is the one reason why me and Zach get so many good wholesale deals, especially me over the last 21 years? What is my key ingredient with sellers on why I get good deals? Why is it? Sum it up for me.
To find the motivate sellers that need to sell.
So they're motivated. That's key number one. So when I'm going to meet with them, if you had to sum it up in one or two words, go, what is the difference between me and everybody else when I meet with a seller? I'm putting you on the spot. I know, but I'm trying to teach you.
Yeah, it's okay. You give them the
I'm going to put it
solution
on the
for their
screen right
problem.
here. You ready?
Okay.
Michael Fox got it right. It's rapport. Turn rapport into a conversation and people will love you for it. Why? Because everybody's so like automatic. Let me send you a text. Let me send you an email. To sit down and get to know people and connect with them will give you the front running position. And if you understand that, that is the key part. Do not treat the seller like a number. Don't let your cousin try to just start talking numbers. Go in simply and talk clearly and communicate to them like you are with me, and you'll be fine. And I always start out with every seller. I'm going to help you get this house sold one way or the other. And sometimes it's not me. Sometimes I can't fix all their problems. So understand that when you go in, you have to find a way to connect with them. You're going to use family pictures off the wall, look for their hobbies, everything, and then just tie it all into together and get into it. And everything's at freewholesaling.com. So you got it. So you found a motivated seller. Now you have to find a way to build that rapport and turn it into a conversation. And if you get those two things on every wholesale deal, you will be in this business 20 years plus. I guarantee it. If you skip those two things, you'll probably wind up being a realtor. Ask me how I know. So you got it. Any other questions before we check out here?
I don't have any questions anymore.
Okay.
Thank you very
Go
much.
get it. Okay. Zai, go get it and update me on the next live stream when we're out there. Okay.
Okay. I will let
Okay,
you
bud.
know.
See you later. Preston, you there? Preston. Preston, calling 123. I'll come back to Preston. Andres, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
What can I do for you?
Hey, yeah. I've been joining the lives usually when Zach is on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he had been helping me out with a seller that was in a 55 plus community. Well,
Okay.
that one didn't end up going through. I just wanted to go on the live and ask, how would I approach a cold call with a person that's on the FDNC, so that I don't end up throwing myself under the bus.
I'm sorry. They're on the what? The F?
The do not call list, the federal do not call list.
So they tell you, hey, you're on a person with the DNC, or you're calling somebody that you know that's known on the DNC.
I have call tools, and it tells me when their number is registered.
Well, I mean, you so number one, if you already have the data, you have to decide what risk level you want to take.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, honestly, most people just don't care. Like, I'm not here to give you like legal advice on it, but the amount of times I've been threatened, I've actually been dragged to hearings for this. So I'm not the best example for it, but I
Right.
was abusive. Like I fully admit it, and I had to sign off. And like there's certain things I can't do when you're young and you're working on a small list. It's not like the end of the world. Like usually you're going to get
Okay.
slapped on the hand to move on, but like you're in a different type of world. So if you have, to be honest with you, some of these softwares are just, they're kind of counterproductive because everybody starts to freak out like, oh my God, they're on the do not call list. The easiest way to overcome someone you connected with that's obviously agitated and pissed off, just kill them with kindness. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how you got on the list. I am going to take you off my list right now and take them off your list.
Right.
But here's the problem is, there's people out there, they like make a living on doing this crap. And
Yeah. I follow
it's
a guy
not
on
that
TikTok.
they don't make a living. They just get off on it. Like I'm just going to tell you, they will call. I've had them where they've called me over 100 times. I'm going to get you. They never get me, by the way. The only time I've ever had a problem is when an attorney reaches out or sends me a legal correspondence. Then you've got some issues you got to deal with. So do not spend hours trying to contemplate if you're going to call. Just come up with your MO and just go through it. And if you get somebody on the DNC list, just say, I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Start fake crying, like whatever you got to do to get out of it and move on and just respect them. So, but if I had to sit there and sort every list based on that, it's mind blowing.
Right.
But if I'm just starting trying to get my first deal, I'd rather you focus on chasing down motivated sellers.
Right.
As you get in a more scalable system, then you're going to have to deal with those issues, because if not, they will bring them to your doorstep. And I want you to understand that in the beginning, it's not a big deal. I'm not giving you legal advice. If you're
I know.
like
I know.
some people like, but
It's all
like
good. Yeah.
I ignored it the first 5 years I did it. Like, and my son he probably made over 1 million cold calls. Towards the end, we had to deal with it. So at some point,
Yeah.
you will be tackling it. And I'm not going to tell you the fine's pretty substantial. So it's discouraging enough where I ain't doing it anymore. But in the beginning, I mean, I had years of warning. So I don't know. I guess it's the entrepreneur, the rebel, the cowboy, and all
Right.
us wholesalers. So it's like I just wouldn't spend a lot of energy in the beginning on it. It's not going to make you any money.
Yeah, because
So
I've been pulling lists from PropStream,
mhm.
usually vacant property lists, and then lean lists. And for those, yeah, I don't call FDNC because they're, there's a lot. But I recently finished my Driving for Dollars list, and basically all of them are on the do not call list. Now I don't want to just throw away that list. So yesterday I started calling them. And the first person on the do not call list I called was a motivated seller. So I
Yeah.
don't, I feel
But
like I
listen,
should
guys,
keep on
if
calling.
you're just super nice to people and like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I'm just like, I'm a kid. I called you. I'm so sorry. Like 9 times a day, dude, it takes a lot of work to chase people down legally, like to
yeah,
do that list.
yeah,
And then I used to have attorneys that would send me like automated letters. I just ignored them till I couldn't anymore. So I'm just telling you, do not spend the beginning of your effort doing it, because I didn't even know what a DNC is when I started out. And then they put it in the midstream while I was learning wholesaling. And you either had to take a path of ignoring it 100% or complying. And you're going to have to choose which one you do. Because
right.
here's the reality. Are you really selling anything? And I get it. You're not,
That's the
do not
thing.
call. I'm like, I'm not. So you get in this argument, but some states are more proactive about it than others. Um,
Well, I'm in
dude,
Florida.
we
I don't
used to
know.
do RVMs. I got to tell you, RVMs, probably one of the most unbelievable tools a wholesaler could ever have. We are
Right.
completely outlawed in Florida. I've
Yeah, I
signed
heard.
off. I settled with the state. I can't afford it anymore. But I tell you, I made millions doing it, and I paid a hefty fine. But it was like, you ever see those companies? You ever see the guy that got busted for, the guy that calls you with the warranty on your car crap, automated robocall?
Yes, yeah.
He
I got a
made
lot
like,
of them.
I want to say it was like 100 million robocalls. Now, here's the funny thing is he got hit with I think it was like 80 or $100 million fine. But he made billions of dollars doing it. Like, you don't care. You ever see these companies that get these huge fines? Like Wells Fargo just got a ginormous fine. Fox News just got fined like a staggering number, hundreds of millions. Like, it's fine. Our viewership's up. Like, it's a cost of doing business. So just be
Right.
careful. In the beginning, you don't really have that leverage, but if you're just kind to people and you're sweet,
Yeah.
but like a driving for dollars, oh, I would call. I don't even care if they're on the DNC. Think about it.
Yeah,
You have a
exactly.
high
I spent
probability.
time on
Why
that.
wouldn't you do that? So
Yeah. And
don't
actually
don't
this
overthink it. This is where I
right.
teach you where we make wholesaling much more complicated than it is. Your problem is you've got to get your deals done and you got to put profit in your bank account. So spending too much time
Right.
trying to figure out DNCs and like, I can't call this person, that person. Screw it, man. Just dive in.
Yeah, like for bigger lists that I usually put like 1,500 contacts, those
Yeah.
I really don't care about.
Yeah.
DNC, I try to avoid them.
Uh-huh.
But for this one, it just felt wrong to avoid them since, it's almost 300 contacts and like half of them or more than half of them were on the DNC. So I felt like it would have been a waste of money
Yeah.
a waste of effort, more like,
Well,
and also skip chasing
you'll
and
you'll
everything.
never know till you try. So you got
Yeah,
to like
no,
figure it out. So it's you got to, once again, everything in life comes down to your risk tolerance. Why do we do wholesaling? Because we can minimize our risk and make a ton of money, and it's a proven path. I love when people go, oh, wholesaling is a scam. It's only a scam because you work a 9-to-5 job. That's the biggest scam I know in the United States. So
Right.
there's no real risk in doing this. So don't overthink this. Just get past this part and make a decision, move on. Somewhere down the road, you'll be in a position where you actually have to deal with it. And you got to
Right.
decide, do I want to pay? So just to let you know, $25,000 to $50,000 fines were common for me. And it just got to the point it just wasn't worth it anymore. So, but in the beginning, dude, I had thousands of people. I'm on the do not call. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to take you off that list. I'm appalled you're on this list and I'm going to fix it. And that fixed 99% of them.
Right. Well, I approach them very generally. I don't give them my name unless they ask, and if they do ask, I give them my nickname. So what I do is I tell them, hey, sorry to bother you, but I actually drove by your property. I can't remember when exactly it was, but I
Yeah.
had a question. I wanted to know if you had any plans
Yeah.
for this property.
That's it.
And then they'll answer like, oh, no, I don't want to sell or whatever. So far, I
Yeah, you
haven't
got
had
it.
anybody tell me that, oh, I'm gonna sue you. I'm still waiting for that day because I know
So,
it's gonna happen.
so by the way, like I'm the king of this. When someone announces they're going to sue you, they're not very good at what they do. So if you truly want to sue someone, you never tell them.
Hmm.
That's the ultimate threat. So the only time I've ever been sued, they never announced it. The people that threaten me every day, and there's a lot of them watching this stream, I'm sure, they never have the guts to do it. It's an empty threat. Like I've been around in life. I'm going to sue you. You have no idea what a lawsuit entails. They're expensive. They take a lot of time, and you're put on the spot. And the thing is, there's a lot of people exposing scams out there. You guys can check it out, like CoffeeZilla, all these other places. And the
Right.
funny thing is, when they get sued for defamation or something like that, the lawsuit opens up what they call discovery. And now you can cross-examine people's bank records, phone calls, everything. And so like people fall for like this bait and switch all the time. I'm just telling you, when someone tells you to sue, 9 times out of 10, they're bluffing.
Right.
Wealthy people don't announce to you they're going to sue you. They just hand the paperwork to the lawyer and get it done. So
Right.
you'll get a cease and desist letter. That to me is a valid threat. And then they sue. But people go, I'm going to sue you. I'm just like, okay. Yeah, okay. Because
Yeah.
it's like ridiculous. So you're going to put up a $15,000 retainer to prove your ego right? Go for it. I love to see it. I don't care.
Right.
You have to have a case in a court of law. So, dude, stop overthinking it. You got it.
Yeah, for sure. Also, this also ties into my next question. The guy that did answer that was on the DNC list that he was a motivated seller. He owns a 4-unit small building here in Miami.
Okay.
I joined the live yet late, so I missed the part where you're teaching on how to come up with the ARV on that. Can you just give me a small rundown?
So it's real simple. You're going to have to comp it with like type buildings. So if it's a fourplex, match it up with a fourplex. I know Miami's intricate. I spent a lot of time there. You're it's going to be sometimes it's hard to find similar. So a lot of them you're going to have to figure it on the rent rolls. So figure
Yeah.
out what the potential it's going to earn, minus off the expenses, divide it by the price, and that'll give you what we call a cap rate, or
Mm-hmm.
basically an NOI, I'm
Right.
sorry, a ROI. It's basically what a return is.
A return
So
investment.
right,
Yep.
so right now, your United States government, without hesitation, through a treasury bill, you can get 5 to 5.25 with zero risk in your life. This is the challenge we're dealing with cash buyers. So right now,
Mm-hmm.
guys, I'm parking lots of money at 5.25% with no risk. It's not really tied up, and it's better than putting it in the bank. People who put money in a bank, like you're crazy. But it just the bank doesn't pay you anything. I'm not worried about the bank folding because the government stacks up. So if I get 5.25 with no risk, and then you show me a unit that's earning 8 or 9%, depends on like the neighborhood and everything else you have to do. I'm here to tell you, Miami's one of the rare exceptions. It's not the easiest place to do comps.
Yeah, it's
So you
horrible.
need to find out if there's any motivation for the guy to sell it. And then you need to find cash buyers who are willing to pay more. It's really that simple,
Mhm.
but you're going to have to find like-minded properties. Do not duplex to a sixplex, anything like that. So look in that area and try to find a similar One. So a fourplex in
Right.
Miami. Is there a lot of multis in that area?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a
Well, there you
couple
go. Just
multifamily.
try to
There's a
keep it
couple
within a
4
block.
and 6.
Try to keep it within
Oh.
one block.
It's
So
in
you
a
might,
it's in a very that's the thing. It's in a very, let's just say, bad part of town. So
yeah,
it's
okay. Well, man, you don't have to live in it. You just got to sell it. So you just got to sell your contract. So it's, dude, you're talking about a guy who spent half his career in Fort Pierce, which is like Liberty City on a smaller scale. I've had everything happen to me. And after a while, after 4 or 5 years, I just stopped doing it. I just couldn't do it anymore. I'm
right.
like, I mean, you really had to like protect yourself. It was bad stuff. So it's like,
Okay.
so people are like, how do you know you're in a bad neighborhood? I go, man, I have to teach you that, like we need to take a whole nother class. Here's the reality is everybody. So in South Florida, when everybody out in the middle of the day sitting in their front yard, you're probably in a rough area. Why? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hotter in the house than it is outside. And if you're in South Florida right now, it's like 93 degrees.
yeah, it's
So a
bad.
lot of times you can get under a tree and you can chill. But if the wrong car drives in that neighborhood, they'll let you know right away. If you see bars on the window, you're probably in a neighborhood you don't want to be around. If you see pit bulls roaming the street with no leashes, you're probably in the wrong neighborhood. So I'm okay with you starting out there, but just understand when we talk about risk, you take a lot of risk when you do stuff like that. But dude, you're in Miami, you got to get things to work. If you can get in and out of a deal, who cares? You're not living there.
Right. Yeah, no,
But
I
don't
mean,
not worth risking your life, okay?
yeah, I'm pushing Fort Myers now because
Okay.
Miami,
Do
like
you
somebody in
you
the
live in
comments said,
Miami?
Miami's really tough. Yeah, I've been living here for 15 years.
What part of
It's
Miami?
just I live in Kendall.
Okay. So I got a lot of family over there. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
but
in Miami
Kendall is
once
like
once a month. So unfortunately, I spent a lot of time in Miami, not by my choice recently, but your traffic, man. I don't know what the hell's going on with that city. It's absolutely nuts. So, but okay, bud, I got to run here, man. You know what to do.
yeah, for sure. All right, thank you,
Okay.
Rick.
See ya. Okay. Let me grab a couple questions I put up here. So Hunter asked a question. He says, hey, is there any other money other than EMD you have to put up front in the title company? The answer is no. Whatever you negotiate with the seller and you being the buyer on the contract, it is up to you. Nothing's prepaid until the property closes. It'll all be on the HUD. Okay. Another one is Mason asked, has anyone ever door knocked? And I know you're asking with the stream, but I started out door knocking. I used to get the pre-foreclosures and I'd go door to door. I got to tell you, today's age, it's much tougher to do. My favorite way to get a wholesale deal was door knocking because you had an instant connection. It was one step above the phone. Logistically, though, today with Ring cameras and people just not even answering the door anymore, nobody knocks on the door. They got Ring doorbells. They got video surveillance. It's not nearly as effective. I would look at freewholesaling.com and look at like reverse driving for dollars. That's a great way to do it. So, okay, let's jump on. Let's see here. One last question. I'll jump on the lives. He says, when you work with a realtor on a deal, what do you offer the realtor for a reasonable fee? And what do you call the payment? So the payment's called, it's not a consulting fee. It's always a commission with the realtor. There's no other way unless they have an equity stake in the property. Then that's kind of be like a JV partner. But for the most part, the reasonable fee, it's whatever you negotiate. So it really comes in how involved the realtor is. So if I pre-train a realtor and they bring me a motivated seller to go, listen, I sold this guy a house 10 years ago. He wants me to sell it. The house is kind of trashed. His wife's really sick. Listen, the house is worth 300,000. I'm telling you right now, he'll sell it for 180. He's not going to take a penny less. The deal's done if you'll do 180. And then the realtor will say, what will you pay me for this deal? And you just negotiate. And if it's a great deal and you do the math and you can make some good money and you've got a buyer lined up for it, all realtors, most of them want 2 to 3% on average. I've paid them as high as 10%. But if they bring me a deal where I have to spend zero marketing dollars, I don't have to sit there and negotiate with the seller, I will make them very happy. Now, if I have to do all the work, I'll equate to a finder's fee of like $1,500. anything under $1,000 with a realtor, like they're going to bring it to somebody else and they'll never bring you that type of deal again. So take care of your realtors, that, and the amount of work and effort that they bring the deal to you usually coincides on how you're going to pay them. It makes it that simple. So, okay, let me jump on here. Jimmy, you there?
Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. What's going on, Jimmy? How can I help you out?
Wow, it's so nice to connect with you, Rick. Thank you so much. I
Okay.
have
What's
two
going on,
questions
man?
really quick. Yes.
Shoot.
What do you think of using contractors to go take pictures for you and for virtual wholesaling? And then the second
If,
question is,
let's do
yeah,
the
go
first
ahead.
one. Then you can do that one.
Okay.
Contractors are they're a blessing and a curse at the same time. The problem is, a contractor will do it for you in hopes of what they want. What? So if they take pictures of you, what do you think the trade-off is going to be?
I wouldn't mind paying them $50
I know, but like a contractor is never going to get rich on $50 taking pictures. They want
for
the
a free
job.
bid. Okay.
They
Yeah.
want the job. So, and by the way, contractors are pretty bad at taking pictures unless it's for their own bidding. So if you have a personal relationship with the contractor, that's great. But the problem is if you over promise the contractor, sooner or later they're just going to leave you. So he's not in it for the $50. He's into it so whoever buys the property will hire him to do the repairs. You have to understand that's not going to be you. That's going to be your cash buyer. And you don't have much. A lot of the cash buyers have their own contractor crew. So it's a bit of a risk because he'll probably do it 2 or 3 times and quit on you. It's just the truth. The best way, in my opinion, if you have to use them in a pinch, you can use them in a pinch. I'd rather use like an ex-realtor agent or like a property inspector because that's what they do and they're fine. $50 is a lot of money. You understand most contractors, 10, 20 grand is what they're bidding on the property. So I think he's hoping to get deals out of you. So my favorite way to work for contractors is give me your failed bids in my market. And if I make an offer and I buy it, I will pay you a marketing fee or I will tie you into the rehab into it. I never promise it. I offer it. And that's the best way to work with contractors. But just understanding if you do it, he's probably going to quit after about the 3rd time doing it because it doesn't turn into work for him. Make
That's really
sense?
great. That's really great knowing the contractors could be a resource to get deals too.
Well, that's how you look at it. Go, listen, here's the deal, dude. Like, one of my favorite ways is failed contractor bids. And most people overlook it. Listen, contractors are not the easiest people to work with, but when you're working with them on that side, every contractor, what do they want? They want to get they want to do repairs, whatever work to turn it into profit for them. So just like a realtor wants a commission, that's what all contractors want. If you guys think they want anything different, if you ever went and got your contractor's license, it's brutal. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of liability for them. And so I did that exact same thing. And I'll be honest with you, I wound up in a lawsuit over 3 years because we became such good friends. It just got out of control. And the problem is they always wanted more and more. And so I've never met a contractor that just goes, hey, I'm good with $50 a picture and we're done. So
the best way is I should ask a realtor while he's finding my cash buyer, and he will go take pictures also.
Yeah, but I just don't think it's a good fit for a contractor. Remember, they spent thousands of dollars getting this license and stuff. Picture is the least of their concerns. That they would do that to try to get work out of you. So they'll do estimates, but after a contractor writes 3 or 4 estimates and you do nothing, you will never see him again. Would you do that? Let me ask you, if you went out and wrote contracts on 4 properties through like the same realtor and they never came to fruition, probably the 5th time you're like, I'm not going to go back out there. You keep wasting my time. And the contractor is going to do the same thing with you. So find someone that wants to fit the role in taking the pictures and they're okay making $50, and then you won't be disappointed. That's the honest way to do it. What's your second question?
I understand. How do you find the personal representatives on the PropStream pre-probate list?
So you're not going to find them in through PropStream and listrei.com because the reality is you've got to find that at the courthouse level. So the pre-probates in listrei.com through our PropStream affiliate account is basically, it finds people with a death record and own property within your given market in whatever county that is. That's huge, guys, because not every property actually goes through probate depending on how it's titled. And that's like a legal question. I don't get into that part of it. So if you find those, the easiest way to deal, if you just, why I like the pre-probates with listrei.com is you can get that list. So if you're short on time, say you got a full-time job and go, Rick, man, I really don't have time to do it. I can't go to the courthouse and do all this stuff. This is for you. It's somewhat of a shortcut. It's not nearly as effective as the courthouse, I'll tell you up front. But if I get that list, the simplest way, instead of looking up all the PRs, if you want to look up the PRs, you're better off going straight to the courthouse. This list I run once a quarter if I'm not doing the courthouse, and I just mail on it. So if John Smith died, instead of me going through that tedious task and I don't have time to look up the PRs, I'm going to put on the letter to the estate of John Smith. And typically the PRs going by and checking the mail once a week, once a month, they'll get the letter. That's for people with limited time that don't want to go knee deep in the probates. That's what the pre-probate list was designed for within PropStream. And it has huge value. It also catches properties that don't actually formally go through a probate process, which a lot of properties don't. Some properties with corporations, sometimes certain types of trust, depending on how they're titled with the joint tenant, all sorts of things can happen with it. So if your approach is to use the pre-probate to make it simplified, then simplify your approach to it and just mail to the estate of John Doe, and you don't have to do all that other stuff. If you want to dig into the PR, my recommendation for you is then do that weekly at your local courthouse. It's much more precise. You'll get a better response, but the trade-off is you got to put a lot more effort and work into it. And if you understand that going into it, that's what you can do. Now, some people do the courthouse locally weekly. Some do it bi-weekly. And then other people will take the pre-probate and they run it once a quarter. So in my business, we do the weekly courthouses. Some of them we have to do bi-weekly. It's painful and expensive. And then the other one, when we do the pre-probates, we pull them once a quarter. Why do I do that, Rick? Isn't that cross-contamination? No, because the pre-probate through PropStream catches some properties we don't get on the probate list. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. What if it's virtually though?
Well, you have limited options. So unless you have someone helping you pull the list, then you could do the pre-probate, which is a great strategy. Just mail it to the estate of John Doe. Simplify it. Because figure out how much time it's going to take you to get. So if you can get the PR information easily, then do it. But if it's too much, like balance your time. I'd rather you be chasing other leads and then just kind of, we call that like a shotgun approach. You just kind of throw out a net and see what happens, and it's fine. But the problem with the pre-probate list is it's not a list you pull every month because it's very redundant. So every quarter it usually rolls over, but every month you got like 60, 70% run over from the previous one, and you kind of waste time and energy in it. But guys, I just tell you, like, this is how I run my business. I look at it, I'm like, I'm not going to keep mailing to the same list of this exact same people. That's stupid. So if you're doing it virtually, I like the pre-probate approach. I don't know if, unless you can easily get the PR's information online, I would probably avoid that a bit.
Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you so much.
Man.
I really appreciate you.
I'll see you, man. Laura, are you there?
I am. Hey, Rick. Thanks.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good. What's going on? What can I help you out with?
Yes, I'm so excited. I actually just watched a few videos about land, about wholesaling land. And the last one I saw that you did was great. You spoke about where to find, these plots of land, and it was I forgot the name of the list, but it was like a different website and stuff. But my question is in regards to the pricing and how to come in with a good offer to the seller that's going to really work, like basically a comp. And that is where I'm kind of curious as to knowing more about that, because you don't have the house, you're looking at the land. Let's say you find a good area, there's been some cash sales in that area, you've done that analysis, this is a good spot, then going into the details of a comp of land. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, are you new to wholesaling, or you've done
Ye-
wholesaling before and you're switching the land, or?
No, I'm new to wholesaling.
Okay. So here's what I tell you. First and foremost, get a good foundation through freewholesaling.com, because in my opinion, land is easier because you just take the
It
house
is.
off. So knowing that, so the biggest challenge we have with land, and by the way, I didn't start out doing land. I did it by accident through my regular wholesaling, is it's not nearly as easy to comp. It's just the truth. It's literally raw dirt. So depending if it's an infill lot or an overgrown lot, depending on the size of the parcel and what state it is the only way you can dictate the price is what a cash buyer for vacant land will pay for it. And honestly, that is the hardest, in my opinion. It's harder to chase down the cash buyers than it is to locate people willing to sell their land. What I love about people who sell land, they're not very emotionally tied to it. They don't care. So I have personally bought land with this grand plan, and 10 years goes by and I'm like, well, that plan went to hell. And I'm like, I remember just looking around my wife. I go, what am I going to do with it? And I sold it. I had an investor literally knock on my office door, go, listen, I'll buy that tract of land. I was sitting on it 10 years, paying the taxes. I was getting annoyed with it. And he made me an offer. Now, I thought the offer was insane. So he paid me 3 times what I paid for it. Here's the funny part. This is recent, by the way, 2.5 years ago. He turned around and made a $300,000 profit on my land because I was too lazy to figure out what the highest and best use. I bought it for a personal reason. I didn't have a business plan with it. I was going to build like these custom houses on it, and it just never worked out. And he just asked. I said, sure. He goes, would you take this price? I said, yeah, put it in writing. And then a day later, they presented a contract. He funded it, did everything I asked me to. And then I went back and I asked him, how did it work out? And I'm happy for him. But here's the thing is, he already had somebody ready to buy that property when he approached me. So he already knew exactly what his buyer would pay, their bottom line limit. And he just pushed me to my lowest limit. And I put it together. What I'm telling you is, I kind of didn't care. It wasn't a big deal to me. It wasn't a priority. And I was getting tired of getting letters from the city about how I had to clean the property up. So all land deals always build around the cash buyers. It is the most challenging part of that part of the business. If you can find people that will buy in a proximity area and you can figure out one, then you can take down 10. That's the hardest part. End of story. I could go to any town and city and do the exact same thing I just told you. People are like, how hard is it to find motivated sellers with land? I go, actually, the emotional attachment's not there. The problem is chasing down these cash buyers. And by the way, cash buyers switch every 6 months in all these markets. So if you're relying on buyers from 2 to 3 years ago, I promise you they're not around anymore. That's it. And then you can reverse wholesale land much easier than you can a property because you don't have all the pitfalls. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to worry about the cash buyer meeting with the seller and all the things that we worry about in wholesaling, as opposed to you could do it virtually from anywhere. So what state are you in?
I'm in California.
Yeah. So like you can pick anywhere you want in the United States because you don't have to get in your car and ever look at this land. What you have to do is get data to see what people will pay for it and how many buyers are in like that given market. And it's a pain in the butt. And if you can get through that, you can do it. I've got at least 10 friends. All they do is land all day long. Here's the secret. They know exactly where to buy and they know exactly what their buyers will pay for it. In the beginning, they were clueless and they were all over the board. And then they found a market that started winning. And then once you have data, then you can scale it. And that's all you do with it. If you like to talk to people, but what I love about land is there's that emotional connection is kind of removed and it makes it easier. And then I don't have to deal with all the inspections, you don't have to deal with repairs with land either.
Right.
Now, typically on the smaller deals, you're going to make less money and some people get turned off by it, but like, don't limit yourself. I do land all the time. I have to shift the focus a lot more to the buyer than I do the motivated seller, because in land, they don't even have to be like crazy motivated. When it comes to single family properties, they do have to be motivated to put a deal together. I always stand by that. With land, you make someone the right offer right there and they say yes, and you send them a contract and they sign it, and you got someone that'll pay 10, 20, 30 grand more, you just put up a great deal without like the traditional wholesale fight. But the energy you're going to have to do is put into the intel of the cash buyers for that given area. And then every time you move an area, you got to do it all over. And it does take manpower to do that. And it's exhausting. So, but it works very well.
What do you mean by manpower? Are you
I
saying
mean,
that?
you got to make a lot of phone calls, a lot of connections. You got to call a lot of realtors. And
Right.
it all takes time and energy to do that. So
Got
I
it.
would like to tell you could just click on these websites or go to these social media groups and get it. But the reality is you're actually going to have to put in the hard work and call these people. And you have to follow up with phone calls. It's just a pain in the butt. It really is. I'm not going to lie to you. So it's a different kind of satisfying, but it works. And if you do it long-term and you can find a market and find that niche, you can run with it. An example, just what was it? 2020, during that great epidemic, I pushed hard on land because we had some limitations with inspections for obvious reasons. And I did this just locally in Port St. Lucie. I went out and contracted 32 pieces of land and I sold 15 of them all in a 90-day period. Never left my desk. But here's what you guys don't understand. I had 3 people helping me call all day. And like we were putting all the data together, and I worked with realtors. So realtors are actually an asset sometimes with land because they can help you find cash buyers to buy those properties. So it's always there. And then I love going to other markets and do it. And once I get some intel, I can figure out how to do it. I love to dive. From a virtual standpoint, land is absolutely amazing. And especially if you're in the state of California. But we teach you how to do it all in like freewholesaling.com. You're just going to spend more energy chasing down the cash buyers than you are on the actual sellers.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick. I
Okay,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. You got it.
All right,
Okay,
have a good one.
awesome. Okay, guys. So here's what we're going to do is make sure you smash that like button before you get off this. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Go over to freewholesaling.com right now. Get involved in the 30-day challenge. I'm depending on you guys because I want you to take action. I want this to work for you. You can do it. I believe in you. Remember, it's up to you to take the action. You have to be accountable to yourself. Wholesaling works. I've proved it over the last 21 years. It's up to you. Go ahead and take that action. Let's get it going. And guys, those of you in Flip with Rick Plus, I will see you on the stream right after this. Have a good one, guys.